Hello, everyone. Dale King here with the Dale King Show today we have with us Tyler Steers. He's a nurse practitioner of Syringa Wellness in Caldwell, Idaho. Welcome, Tyler. Tyler, how long have you been a nurse practitioner?
About 7 years. Honestly, I had a previous existence kind of in mental health. So my first degree was in psychology. I did that for about 10 years. I really liked it, but I kind of got burnt out. And so I decided I was going to go a different pathway. And I went into nursing kind of by happenstance. It was 2008. Things were going crazy with the market. People were looking for jobs. So I went into nursing. Um, really, really enjoyed it. Liked taking care of people. I found even more people there that I could help. And then I went to the ER directly after that. Worked in the ER for a number of years as a nurse, and then went on to get my nurse practitionership after that.
Yeah, you've always been helping people, it looks like. So, you mentioned the mental health background that you have. When I came to visit you for a legit appointment,
Mhm.
I was actually a little surprised at how many questions you asked me about my life. It was refreshing because I knew that you're taking my whole life into consideration before prescribing anything.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what we do. I like to practice functional medicine, right? So functional is more of a root cause analysis thing, and in order to do that, you have to have a holistic perspective, right? So we have to see how things are impacting other parts of your life, and not just ask specific questions about a disease or a disease state. It's more about how we can help all things in your life, and then the body tends to remedy itself at that point.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that root cause approach. Almost working from the assumption, I would say, that the body's designed to heal itself. Would that be accurate?
It's exactly what it is. The body was designed right the first time. So it's about restoring that design and correcting deficiencies, correcting issues that are preventing it from healing itself.
So, what do you see as the foundation of just simply being healthy?
There's it's incorporating a lot of things, right? There's a lot of different pieces to that. So nutrition is probably paramount, right? Making sure you have the right types of foods. Unfortunately, most of the foods in our world today are garbage. So unless you're making a distinct effort to go out and get the right types of foods, we talked a little bit about that before, as far as your interest in background in organic foods, organic clean foods that are not genetically modified, that are not filled with pesticides. That's a huge foundation. Getting rid of the unhealthy things is super important. But there's also, there's exercise is obviously key. Stress reduction, work life balance, all these other things. It's again that holistic perspective where you have to take all of them into account and make sure we're addressing all of them individually and then collectively.
Right. I appreciate what you say there. Having an organic business in the past, I'll just weigh in here really quickly. And I remember people asking me the question, why is organic more expensive? And I can tell you about the subsidies that the other companies get that
Yeah,
organic doesn't get. But it's really more about the fact that me and my family didn't have doctor bills.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
so when we actually look at our whole budget, our holistic budget, and our families, how much are we spending on doctors and remedies to being ill? And what kind of lifestyle do we want to live?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's so much nutrition in food if you actually just break it down. Every food has got a different purpose. There's so much healing ability in food itself that if you just get the right foods without all the garbage in the foods, you'd be amazed at how much better you feel. Right? It's just unbelievable.
Right. Thinking about the conversation we had before, I I'm enjoying I enjoyed the fact that you understood my body by asking me questions, just seeing cause and effect. How does this work? How do you sleep? How well do you sleep? What's your diet? So on and so forth, and being able to speak specifically to the science of my body. Um, that left that left me encouraged that, I think there's something here I can actually work with and have a path to be healthy and healthy for a long, long time.
So sleep, we can say, why are you not sleeping well? Is it like an insomnia? Is it a diagnosis? Or are you having a whole bunch of sugar right before bed and you're having an insulin response and you can't sleep well because of that? There's a million causes of that, right? Caffeine, there's a lot of causes. And so you have to selectively go through and determine what the underlying cause is one step at a time, and just read out all those little things. And the only way to do that is to ask a lot of questions and get to the bottom of what's happening in your entire system.
So goes into your mental health background, and that is, what's the effect of difficult relationships on our physical health?
Oh, it's paramount, right? So relationships, if you're in an unhealthy, so let me back up a little bit. When I had a degree in psychology, I have a degree in psychology, right? And I worked in mental health with kids for many, many years, trying to help them. And I did an outpatient thing with them where we would do activities in the community, trying to teach them skills, trying to help them to improve their lives. It was a great program. It worked really, really well. The biggest frustration that I had, and most people had in that time, is these kids would do remarkably well out of their environment. We take them back home to their environment where there's a lot of unhealthy things happening, and all of a sudden they go right back to where they were, right? So the unhealthy relationships in their lives were causing a lot of their problems. And it goes to the same level with adults as well, right? If you have unhealthy relationships,
Right.
that's gonna permeate all aspects of your life. You know, if you're walking on eggshells, so to speak, with your spouse, then you're going to be very anxious, generally speaking, right? Because you don't want to set them off or make them angry. So there's a lot of examples as to why relationships are very, very important.
I was in the hospital a couple of years ago, and they had the pain under control for what I was in for. But the docs would come in, and every time the docs came in, my pain came back
Yeah,
and increased. And they'd say, "Well, how's the pain?" It's like, "Well, it was fine before you got here, but now I'm hurt."
yeah,
And it was just that tension, you
yep.
know. And they weren't doing anything wrong. I mean, they're great docs, but relationships really do really do affect how we operate, and the stress. I mean, I hear I've heard that thing where it says, stress actually makes us our minds shut down. Kind of makes us stupid, you
So
know?
there's a fantastic book with regards to stress and trauma, right? And it's called The Body Keeps the Score. Many people have heard of it, but if you haven't and you have any sort of trauma history, you need to read the book because you begin to realize and understand that the physiology of the body changes. The trauma is literally stored in your flesh. You have responses in your body with
Right.
neurotransmitters you can no longer control, right? And so when you're talking about stress and trauma, we can talk about cortisol and all these other things, but really that stress is truly stored in your flesh and it causes all kinds of issues until you begin to delve into it and slowly process through those issues.
Yeah, it's time to be holistic, folks. So kind of a final question here, and we'll wrap up around this. Do you actually believe that we can be healthy today?
Yes, but you have to be very intentional with your actions. You absolutely have to be intentional. There's no, uh, you know, I, you can't go through the drive-through 2 or 3 times a day and be healthy. The foods that you're being served, for most circumstances, are not really even food, right? And you look at the label and you've got 25 ingredients, most of them preservatives, in the back of something. That's not healthy. That's not even food. You've got no nutritional value whatsoever. You've got a few calories, and that's what you're getting on top
Right.
of all the things that your body has to then try and get out of the body and try and process through all these toxins and other garbage. So it comes down to planting a garden, having healthy foods there. We have our own cows, we have our own chickens, we have our own garden. We've intentionally set up our lifestyles around that. And I realize that's not necessarily an option for every single person, but you can still go down to the market and get those things, right? You can go down to I work right down from Cliff's Market. I go there all the time. They have organic Fuji apples for 99 cents a pound. So you can't tell me that you can't find healthy food for a reasonable price and intentionally do that, and then you incorporate the exercise, you incorporate the self-care, you change your lifestyle around the things that are important, and then your health follows, right? It's really that simple. But our world is completely opposite of that. You're encouraged to go there and grab a quick bite on the way there, have
Right.
your coffee on the way to work that's got 1,000 calories in it, loaded with fat and sugar and everything else. Then there's certain choices that have to be made and certain sacrifices that have to be made. And when you're ready to do that, health will absolutely follow.
Well, and it's actually a higher quality of life. And
Absolutely.
who doesn't want a higher quality of life for themselves, for their loved ones? And I've found, I mean, I grew up that way, what you just described. I grew up with that. That's kind of normal in my family. And I'll tell you, to see my kids healthy, I, what's better than that?
Well, yeah, and I've learned a lot of those lessons the hard way, as far as having too much caffeine and then causing anxiety or having a lack of nutrients, right? So I've learned as I've gone. Yeah,
Right.
school taught me a lot, but personal experience has taught me a lot, and so now I have my children. So a recent study showed that a vast preponderance of kids who have ADHD have a lack of magnesium. So now I make sure my kids, they have their nutrients, they have their magnesium. My daughter has her B complex, her folate to help with her anxiety, and she's much, much better with that. So once you give the body the nutrients it needs, depending on the situation, it will be in a state of homeostasis and you're going to feel a lot better, right? It's
Right.
it's fantastic.
For a better lifestyle.
Absolutely, yeah. Happier, healthier, longer life.
Very good. Very good. Well, Tyler, this has been a pleasure. Again, folks, this is nurse practitioner Tyler Steers of Syringa Wellness in Caldwell, Idaho. And we'll have the information down below on where you can find him and get on his schedule. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. Tyler, thanks so much for coming out.